Okay, so this section only has 6 examples. So we'll do a couple today and then we'll finish it out tomorrow. So for area of a triangle, there's 3 formulas that you need to know. And I'm not sure if you get a formula sheet for the test. I will let you know that tomorrow. So the first one is the area of a right triangle. Area of a right triangle, this is the one you learned way back in middle school. 1/2 base times height. The thing to keep in mind though is that the height of a triangle, and you can use this for all triangles, not just right triangles. So for example, if you have just a regular triangle, the height is the distance and is always connected to a 90-degree angle. That's what you need to remember, is that the height is not necessarily a side of the triangle. It's only a side if we're talking about a right triangle. But any other triangle, so another triangle would be, even if you have something that looks like this, kind of goes off the screen a little bit. But even in a triangle like this, the height would be, it would be actually outside of the triangle. So the thing to keep in mind is when you're talking about the height has to be connected with a 90-degree angle. So this is always with a 90-degree angle. So that's that first formula that you learned back in the day. Now for an oblique triangle, triangles where you don't know the height, there's actually 2 different formulas that we're going to talk about that are fairly new to you probably. And that is area equals, for the sine area formula, that one is area equals 1/2 AB sine of angle C. So if you're drawing out a triangle here, you have to know, in order to do this formula, you have to know, going back to geometry, it's called side angle side. So you have to know 2 sides and then the angle in between. So for side area formula, you need to know 2 sides and the area in between. The angle in between, sorry. 2 sides and the angle in between those 2 sides. And the last way to find an area is called Heron's formula. For Heron's, you just need to know all 3 sides. You must know all 3 sides. You don't need to know any angles. So what that formula says, the whole thing is under a square root. So you have the area equals, and then you have the side, and then you have parentheses, that side minus the first side, or S stands for the semi-perimeter. It's hard for me to talk and write, so let me write it out and then I'll talk about it. Okay, so this is your formula. And S, this number S, S equals A plus B plus C divided by 2. So it's the semi-perimeter, half of the perimeter. So those are your three formulas for area. All right, anybody need more time copying down those formulas? No, not really. Okay, go ahead and copy down example 1 and we'll get started. So we're finding the area. We don't know any angles, so we have to do Heron's formula. So the first thing you want to do when you're finding Heron's formula is find S. So go ahead and add these three sides together and divide that by 2. So go ahead, grab a calculator if you don't have one. Find S. That's the first step. So what do you get for S? 8. Anybody else get 8? So 4 plus 5 is 9. 9 plus 7 is 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8. All right, so now let's do that formula. So when you do Heron's formula, you have to take 8, and then I'm going to multiply that by the difference between 8 and each side. So I'm going to put 8 minus the first side, 8 minus the second side, 8 minus the third side. And then take the square root of that number. So I want you to practice finding that number. And if you have a decent calculator, you can do this all in one step. If you don't, you may have to kind of chunk it up a little bit. and it's units squared. So I don't know if the length is in inches and feet, yards, meters, so I'm just going to say it's some unit squared, and that would be my final answer. Oops. And that's Heron's formula. Okay, let's look at example 2. Let's see if you can find that area by yourself. So again, you have another triangle, which you know all 3 sides. So take about 5 minutes, see if you can find the answer by yourself. And if you have the answer, raise your hand and I'll look at it. Okay, so the first thing we would do is find S. So when you find S, that's your semi-perimeter. That is going to be 4 plus 3 plus 6 over 2, which is 6.5. Okay. And then, so your area equals, so you take 6.5 and then you take 6.5 minus 4, 6.5 minus 3, 6.5 minus 6. Now you can, like I said, it just depends on what kind of calculator. Like you don't have to go through and find these individually. But if you type this in your calculator correctly, you should get 5.333. So if you're not getting that, it's probably a calculator thing, and I can help you figure out. Definitely can't see that decimal point, yeah. I can help you figure out how to use your calculator specifically to get that, because it could be that you may need to use more parentheses when you type it in. So let's do our last question. Go ahead and copy down example 3. So again, so I don't know all 3 sides, so Heron is out. Can't do that. I don't know that it is, that I have the height, so I can't do that either. So this is going to be sine area. Because I have two sides and I know the angle in between those sides, it's just area equals 1/2, and it's going to be BC sine A. So you have to rearrange that depending on what you know. So if you type in 1/2 BC sine of 80 degrees. And when you type that in, you should be able to do that in one step. You can also convert that 1/2 to 0.5 if that's easier to do in your calculator. But I got 1.77 units squared. Who got 1.77? Wait, what did I say? Yeah, 1.477. Yeah, I can't really. Okay. All right, so I'm going to end there. We'll finish out the other half of the notes tomorrow, and I'll pass out your study guide tomorrow. Test is on Friday.